Welcome to It's More Than Grit, the CSIS podcast about the crucial role entrepreneurs play in the global economy. I am Mariana Campero.
And I'm Andrew Schwartz. Join us as we hear stories of both triumphs and setbacks and how economic and policy environments across the globe shape their outcomes.
Let's dive in and learn why being a successful entrepreneur takes more than just grit. In part 2 of my conversation with Evan Greenberg, we talk about the industry, his own experiences in working with China, how he's constantly creating new businesses and new sources of income, and his outlook for the future. Evan, welcome back to It's More Than Grit. Again, thank you so much for being here with us today, sharing your story. In our last conversation, we spoke primarily about your journey. If you agree now, I would like to focus this conversation on where you and Chubb are today. What is it like to be a leader and an entrepreneur? And more importantly, where do you want to go?
Mariana, thank you for having me back. And it is my pleasure, and I look forward to our conversation.
Ev, before we dive right into Chubb, let me ask you about something that is also personal, but I know you love and you certainly know as much about, and that is music. In fact, you probably know more about music than anybody else I know. You and I have even joked about the possibility of you having your own podcast dedicated entirely to music trivia. What is music to you, Evan, and what are your favorite genres?
You really are revealing my personal secrets.
Not all.
Well, I think it's a little hyperbolic. My knowledge of music goes to certain genres of music and certain periods. But going back, my grandmother was a professional entertainer and singer. My mom was trained classically, and she was an accomplished musician in her earlier years. I was raised with music. I was raised and educated to play musical instruments from a younger age. It was an important part of my life then. Music is important to me today and has always been. The genres I listen to the most are blues rock, and in more recent years, country music, which I've come to really like and enjoy. So music is important to me, and it's a part of most days, my daily life.
Evan, you just made me think about a Bob Dylan song, maybe because we just went to see the movie, called The Times They Are Changing, which is all about embracing new ideas. So talking about innovation, let me ask you about the insurance industry, which certainly plays an incredibly important role in the functioning of the economy and has to constantly adapt and understand how to price the risks of the new things. So why is it, Evan, that it has such a bad reputation?
You start out with the most fundamental. Insurance is not a purchase that people want to make. No one is energized by the notion of, I think I'll buy insurance. It's a necessity, a requirement. And you use it and take advantage of it generally, and I'm referring to property casualty insurance at this moment, when something catastrophic has occurred or you've suffered some misfortune. And neither when you buy it nor when you need to use it are uplifting moments for people.
What about the contracts?
We're in a very legalistic society. Over time, insurance contracts have been so tortured, particularly by lawyers, to confess things that they didn't intend as coverage. And then regulators have imposed very strict standards. And so the contracts of insurance have become so dense and arcane. Insurers want to be sure that they're paying for what they intended to pay for. And so it's defensive. And then regulators have imposed, and by the way, it varies by state. So you have 50 different contracts for the same thing, and have imposed many requirements and the words that insurers have to use in fulfilling those requirements in the contract. And so I think it's a system that is built up under its own weight. It's in some ways more complex than it needs to be.
You insure everything. I don't know, from boats to cyber to small businesses, D&O. What is the weirdest or the coolest thing you have ever insured?
So many odd things that to me were odd that we've had cool things we've done. I've insured the pitching rotations, guaranteeing that pitchers of baseball teams would pitch a certain number of games. Satellite launches of new technologies for rockets and satellites. Non-appearance insurance, where an actor or actress appears or doesn't appear in a film. We insured movies where, I have to ensure that the animals don't bite the actors, and yet the monkey turned around and bit the actor. So I could go on when there are unusual cases, but yet it presents risk. It finds its way to our desks. And it's a reflection of society and its complexities and its dynamism, but yet in the activities humans carry out, there's a constant evolution of new and interesting risks. And can you understand them? And then can you assume them?
Ev, today North America represents about half of your business, while the rest of the world generates the other half of your underwriting income. Yet, when I listen to your conference calls, most of the analysts focus mainly in North America. How do you see it, and where do you see the future growth mostly coming from?
The world is our marketplace. 55 countries around the world are our marketplace. That marketplace breaks down into regions, and then those regions break down into individual countries. The two regions of the world, in my judgment, that present the greatest wealth creation opportunities generally are North America and Asia. And I think that'll be true for the next decade or 2 decades anyway, as far as I can see.
Evan, can you briefly explain why is that?
The dynamism, the creativity and innovation, each with its own brand and character as to what makes it so dynamic. Most major economies, and even small economies of the world, are made up of small and medium-sized businesses, not large businesses. As economies grow, more businesses are created. So I see across the globe insurance of small companies, mid-sized companies, and the enormous opportunity of that. Rising middle classes throughout Asia and in countries like Mexico. And as middle class grows, people acquire assets and they have income to protect. And all of that creates opportunities. As the world digitizes and technology spreads, the ability to use data and the insights of it and use technology and distribution to reach people more efficiently, whether it's in Vietnam or it's in Thailand or it's in Arkansas or California. Those opportunities are just growing and emerging.
It makes sense. As people progress, they want to protect what they have.
And by the way, I remind you, 60 billion, part of 4 trillion. The world is our oyster.
I know you still see yourself as a small company relative to the size of the market and with huge potential. Talking about growth potential, Evan, let me ask you about China. Because I know you are one of the CEOs that are still betting on China. You started building a company there 20 years ago, and you succeeded in being the first foreigner to own a Chinese financial services company, Huatai, which is not a foreign company doing business in China. It is actually a Chinese company. Can you tell us the story about Huatai, and what did you have to do to achieve what no other foreigner has?
Mariana, I have been doing business in China for over 30 years now, and I have a long history in the country. My belief and confidence in China, it's about the Chinese people and the Chinese culture, and I will bet on that all day long. China is a 5,000-year-old culture. It's the original capitalists. Chinese people, it is part of the culture. They're hardworking. They get up every day to work and to make money, create wealth. The irony, that is the enduring ultimate power. Their innovation, their discipline, their intelligence, the vastness of the country and the opportunity with it. I am a firm believer in that basic fundamental wisdom.
What about the great US-China competition?
If we can manage the rivalry and competition of US-China as each pursues its path of its own wealth creation and vision for its people, and we can find a path to stability and avoid conflict, which is in the interest of mankind.
How many offices do you have in China?
We have 500 offices in China throughout all the provinces. I invested in China over 20 years ago, as you say, almost 25, in a small SOE with 50 SOE shareholders. It had 100 million in revenue and a couple of thousand employees. And the notion was, if Chubb helped to build this company, ACE at the time, when we were allowed by regulation to own majority, they would support us in owning more than 50%.
And they did?
We helped to build the company. We helped to not just build that property casualty company. We got a life license. We helped to establish a life company. The company got an asset management license. And we have a significant asset management subsidiary as well now. When the law changed, all our shareholders first said, "Thank you very much, Greenberg, for helping to build this. But we've changed our minds and we'll buy you out."
Oof, what did you do?
I was clear with them at the time. I'm more Chinese than you are, and I will be here for 100 years. And you ultimately will want to monetize your shares. And it was a long and tortured battle, fought at many levels, political, economic, and otherwise. But ultimately, we were supported by shareholders and the government. And we now own 86% of Huatai. And you correctly said, we were the only foreigners given permission to own a Chinese financial services holding company.
Where do you want to take it now?
It's a great foundation, because it's a small company, a great foundation to build what I think will be a significant contributor to Chubb's revenue and income over the years. And my vision is looking out 5, 7, 10 years into the future. And again, I'm a believer ultimately in the Chinese culture and the Chinese people and their ability to prosper and to find stability.
In the current environment, Ev, are you worried about your investment in China?
Our investment in Huatai is with our eyes wide open. My board of directors that has supported us in this effort and our shareholders understand clearly there is risk, and I cannot guarantee protection against the risk. And so it's on one hand binary. We could do extremely well in wealth creation in the future, and I think we will. On the other hand, eyes wide open. We could lose everything if the United States and China had that kind of rupture in relations or got in a shooting war.
Evan, how big is Huatai for Chubb?
Our investment in Huatai represents approximately 6 months of Chubb's earnings. And I think it's worth that bet. It would be a bad day, but it would be worth that bet. So our eyes wide open.
I know many things keep you up at night. Is the China-US relationship one of them?
U.S.-China relations keeps me up at night. As you know, I'm very invested in the geopolitics around U.S.-China relations. And it's not from a mercantilist point of view. I think it's in the interest of my country, and it's in the interest of China and the world that we find a way to coexist peacefully while we each pursue our own vision of greatness for our people. And I think I have a knowledge and an experience from a private sector perspective to help bring something to that effort. And so I spend a lot of time on it.
I know you do. And I know you care deeply and that you spend a lot of time thinking and worrying about this issue, which leads me to my next question, which is about how do you spend your time today and how different it is from how you spent your time, 10 or 20 years ago.
Things that used to take me hours to do now take me minutes. I've done them so many times for so many years. And I also know my own mind clearly about things that I used to have to think more deeply about. I now am settled in my mind. So my bandwidth has increased and I have more time, yet the company is bigger and it takes more time to manage what we have today, given the size and scale. So operations and management still take a significant amount of my time. And then the balance of my time is in creating and building opportunity, building businesses, opening doors and creating optionality to start building new businesses and extend businesses we have, finding partnerships. And then lastly, a good part of my time, which I think is important for any leader, is to recognize what you really are managing and what you have, and to imagine the possibilities of it, not to be trapped by what it is, but to be able to transcend that, looking at the world around you and yet looking at the intrinsic nature of your organization and redrawing the lines and the boundaries so you're not trapped in a box and you're not trapped by the conventional thinking of others.
Ev, talking about not being trapped by what you are today, how are you thinking about artificial intelligence and the possibilities it can offer to your business?
Insurance companies are data companies. They are technology companies, just some are better than others. And technology is a tool to better practice our craft, make us more efficient, more insightful, faster. In a digital age, one of the hallmarks is speed of change. Insurance companies, their cycle time of change is too slow. In Chubb, where we're faster than the average, we're still too slow. Things that take us months should take us weeks in cycle time of change, and we have that vision. Technology is as much about skill sets in a digital age, as much about the skill sets we employ and the mixing and matching of those skill sets in the teams and how we organize to do what we do, as it is about the algorithms and the software we employ and how we use data to power those. All of it together is the notion and the vision of a digital enterprise. And we are iterating for Chubb to be more and more our vision of an insurance company as a digital enterprise.
I know you have a telemarketing business in Asia, and I know you have been using AI to grow the business. How will AI impact employee count and the skills that you are looking for in people when you hire them today?
Employee count and skill sets change over time. We employ thousands of engineers now. We hired over 1,000 new engineers last year alone. We used to describe Chubb as simply an underwriting company. We're an underwriting and engineering company, and it's engineers of all kinds. data engineers, software engineers, etc.
Has it been evolving?
When we look at the functions of AI is evolving. We use algorithmic AI widely. We use it in underwriting. We use it in marketing. We use it in claims and administration. So if I laid out all the functions, algorithmic AI is replacing to a degree what human beings are doing. It's also a companion to human thinking and activity within the company. It's a mixing and matching. Generative AI, we are employing and we're beginning to use, and it will have a very powerful impact over the next number of years in terms of how we underwrite and take risk on one hand. And then on another hand, I'll go completely to the other side. Chubb is the largest direct marketer of insurance in Asia. We reach consumers directly through telemarketing and through digital partnerships where we reach them digitally. Imagine the mixing and matching of that, where AI could be the telemarketer. And I reach somebody first in text and digitally, and then I complete the conversation and the sale with them where they click to talk. And they're either talking to a real human or they're talking to an artificial intelligence voice that mimics all the characteristics of a human. We're there now, and that's just going to evolve and grow, and it increases our bandwidth, our efficiency, our capability, our speed.
Evan, I have to ask you a question, which I am sure many other people have.
You've been asking me 2 hours of questions.
Totally true. But you might not like me after this one. How did you feel the day Warren Buffett called you for the first time to tell you that he liked Chubb and that he would like to be an investor? I mean, wow.
It was a very gratifying moment. He is such an iconic value investor, and Chubb is a deep value company, and we're a compounder of wealth. And he has such an eye for quality. We've always known who we are and what we are hiding in plain sight. And the vote of confidence that he extended, which there was no charity in that. Warren operates in his own interest, as he should. That was a great moment and energizing within our organization, and for me personally, very gratifying.
Certainly no charity, but nonetheless, an incredible vote of confidence from an investor, from the investor, and the best at recognizing value. In fact, how do you measure value creation?
Well, we're a balance sheet company and we're in the risk business. The most fundamental measure of value creation in our business is tangible book value and growth in tangible book value. And I don't measure it simply per share, because in that case, we could create value by shrinking the company. It's how we create tangible book value growth by growing the company, which is through growth in earnings and doing it efficiently. And that is producing a good risk-adjusted return on equity. And it's the compounding of tangible book growth. And I would add to that the growth in free cash flow that denotes our wealth creation and value creation. Shareholder return comes from that, is derived from that. And when I look at Chubb and its ultimate value, I look at it, its intrinsic value, which is a discounting of future cash flows. And our intrinsic value, our ability to create wealth and future wealth, increases virtually every year. That is important. And by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't say our share price at this time is significantly below our intrinsic value. So Chubb is a buy.
If you have to say so yourself. Evan, you have been describing Chubb as primarily a P&C company, but I know you have other two pillars of growth and income. One is your life insurance business, and the other is your invested asset, which also generates about the same amount of money as your underwriting income. Can you briefly talk to us about these two businesses and where do you see their future value creation?
Our life business is still relatively small portion of Chubb. It's present in Asia. That's our focus. It's an Asia-based life business. And in the United States, it's what they call worksite marketing of voluntary benefits for employees.
How much does it generate?
Our life business now generates over $1 billion of income. And the markets where we operate, and principally in Asia, by the nature of the age of population, the growth of middle class, the lack of social safety nets, the orientation towards family and savings, the underinsurance and the need for insurance products, particularly protection type, we are well positioned and there is a large opportunity for continued value creation in our life business.
What about your invested assets?
The invested asset side of Chubb is really, next to underwriting, the most important wealth creation engine.
You generate about $7 billion a year, right?
Well, pre-tax about $6 billion and change, a bit more than underwriting income. Underwriting income will continue to grow, but our investment income will grow faster. Our invested asset is now over $150 billion. I expect in the next 3 or 4 years that could approach the $200 billion mark.
How are these impacted by the current interest rates environment, by higher inflation, by the overall economic conditions?
We've come out of a long period of low interest rates. And in my judgment, for a number of reasons, we're in a period where interest rates will remain much higher for an extended period, as far out as I can see, given inflation, given deficits, etc. And then at the same time, we have proven we are investment managers, and we have grown an alternative asset portfolio that is a compounder of income and of tangible book at a superior rate that will continue to grow as well in a significant way. So through liquid and illiquid investment asset strategy, that derivative of our insurance business has become and is becoming more than a derivative, a significant business in its own right, where we have an invested asset, we make underwriting income, and then we have an invested asset that is not just in fixed income, but is in the business of alternative assets where we can create significant value.
So what started as a derivative of your insurance business has actually now become a pretty significant business in its own right and growing. So I guess your investors, not only Warren Buffett, must be pretty happy. Are you done? Or do you have more acts in you, truly?
You know, I'm in great health. I am at the peak of my creativity, I believe. I have the energy, the passion, the drive, the vision, and boy, what a platform to build from. One of the benefits of spending time with the Warren Buffett, he's 94 years old. He looks at me and said, "My God, you have another 20 years to go." And that's how I view it. In many ways, we're just getting started. The best is yet to come.
I have no doubt, and I would really love to close on that note. But I cannot let you go without asking you a follow-up. I mean, you have created this incredible...
Am I happy I'm married?
In addition to that, you have created this incredible machine. You have an outstanding team. Are you concerned that when you guys leave and pass this company down to the next generation, that they will not have the same drive, the same hunger, the same appetite to continue to build. Are you concerned that they will just milk the cow that you have created? How do you assure this doesn't happen?
I have great confidence in the odds, and I think the odds are overwhelming that we're not just building and creating for our generation of leadership today, but we are grooming and have been grooming citizens of our culture who have the leadership qualities and temperament to bring the same hunger and restlessness and discipline and vision and relentless drive to continue it into the future. If they don't, and they kid themselves, and they're bureaucrats just babysitting what's been done, well, they'll simply milk the cow. But if they want to take this rocket ship for a ride, the sky's the limit.
Evan, before we close, let me ask you one last question. What advice would you offer young Evan or any young person that would like to succeed in their careers?
My God, love and be passionate about what you do. Be the best. Strive to be the best. It's such a gift. And invest yourself 100% in whatever the business you're building or running or your area of responsibility. Be consumed by it. Be the best. Put your head down. Go for it. And your success will beget more success. It's not about the end result you may strive to achieve. That's not where the real winners go. It is truly about the journey.
Thank you so very much, Evan. I cannot thank you enough for being here today. And I hope we can have episode 3. You still have many, many things to do. And as you said, the sky is the limit.
Well, sometime along the way, Mariana, maybe we'll pull the rocket ship over and have another chat.
Thank you very much.